to start so far. I mean, we've not, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, y'all see both of us perfect. Hey, Dr. Strider. Hey, girl.
Hey,
Hey.
hey, girl, hey.
How you doing, Queen?
I'm doing fabulous. I mean, I'm rolling with the punches and like the rest of the world, so I'm hanging in here.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I think at this point, Dr. Strider, that's all we can do is hang in here
That's
and
it.
roll with the
That
punches
is absolutely it.
and,
Yep.
and keep praying and pressing is what I like to say. We
Yep.
just keep
That
on
is
praying,
it.
keep on
Nothing
pressing through.
else.
So tell the people who Dr. Strider is, and let's get into it.
Let's see, what do I want to tell you? So my name is Dr. Sonya Strider, and I am a public health professional, but I'm also a certified grief coach, and I have been doing that for about 4 years now. And I kind of became a grief coach, kind of finding a way to deal with and manage through my own grief. And then once I did that, I thought, hey, I can help other women, women in particular, not just women, but in particular is where I do most of my work, work through their grief and, kind of trying to find the other side of happiness, or as the old folks used to say, help you get through the other side of through. So
Yes.
that's kind of, what I do. I have a foundation that I started named after my mother. It's called Ginny's Porch Foundation. And we have a Mother's Day brunch every year, the fourth Saturday in April. And it's exclusively for women who've lost their mother or who have lost children. So
Beautiful.
We come together
and
we have a great time. We laugh, we cry, we hug, we sing, we dance,
Yes.
So it's a true celebration of our loved ones and who they are and who they were to us. And it's just putting more things out there for us women to have a safe space to be able to talk about our grief and to be able to handle it.
Yes, I love that. I love everything about that. I love the work that you're doing, and especially for women. I absolutely love that. Now, you mentioned that you became a certified grief specialist, or I call it coach, thank you. And that was 4 years ago. And you said it was to help you navigate through your grief process. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I lost my mother, my aunt, my father, all within 9 months' time.
Oh my!
So that was 2015. I lost my mother in December of 2015, and then in May, my aunt, my mother's only sister, passed away, and then in September of 2016, my father passed away. So that was 9 months' time. But prior to that, so before losing my mother in that August of 2015, one of my favorite cousins had passed away. And then in May of 2015, one of my best friends had passed away. So I had already, endured some grief. And then thought I was working through it just fine, and then it just kind of hit me, right? It was like, what else is going to be next? What now? And so I thought, because I think I'm fairly strong, and I think that, I kind of a realist, so, I always think about, I'm a scientist, so I think about things, in some ways matter-of-factly, so if you live, you die, and, and I was like, hey, but when it really hits you, it hits you.
Yes.
And then I realized that, I hadn't dealt with any of that grief, in any way, other than just doing what we do, which is, just picking up and moving, picking up and going. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I did it. And I was like, again, trying to find ways to kind of deal with my own grief.
Right.
And then I thought, I can do this with other people, so that's how I started.
Absolutely. Well, that was a lot. That was a lot. And from your scientific mind, truth be told, sure as we live, we die. We know this, but it doesn't make it easy. It does not make it easy. Right? And so that's admirable that you took that grief and you turned it into something not only to help yourself, but to help others as well. That's
Yeah.
beautiful testament. Um, and that was a lot for you to navigate in such a
Yeah.
short span of time.
Yeah.
My God.
It's a lot to navigate. And, when you are used to being the one that people come to, right?
Mhm.
It, how do you say, hey, I'm drowning?
Right,
How do you
right,
say that, right? I'm
right.
drowning, don't
Oh my
dump on me
gosh.
today because I'm drowning,
Right.
and it just, it got to be a point, and I think that so in some ways when the pandemic, hit
Hmm.
and it slowed everything down, for me and the rest of the world,
Right.
then, honestly, I found that as the opportunity
Hmm.
to say, okay, now let me focus on this, right?
Right.
I don't have to go here and there, and ain't nobody going nowhere, so I ain't gonna miss
Hmm.
out on nothing, right? Because ain't nobody
Exactly.
leaving out. So
Right.
so then I started, I was really able to start doing that work, and I have been doing it. And to quote a friend of mine, it's my heart work.
Yes.
It makes my heart feel good to be able to work with women, and it, at least help find, I can't solve all the problems. And
Right. Right.
sometimes it's just tipping off the tip of the iceberg, but at least sometimes helping people even break through, right?
Right.
Just kind of break through a little bit. You can
Just a
see the
little.
light shining just a little.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Just a little. I love that. I love that. Let's circle around back to rather how did our this connected conversation come about? How did our connection? You
Yeah.
remember when we even first connected?
Yeah, so the crazy thing is how, like when I think we both were in
Yes.
BGR, and so just kind of seeing each other back and forth kind of through that, and I think we
Yes.
connected when I saw the For Us by Us. I was like, oh, I know her.
Yes.
And so I joined, and then, just kind of looking at that, then we start doing the Waterfalls. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. And I think
Yes.
that we really, really connected really was when I went on I've had been on a few of the
Yes.
chases, but not that often. But
Yes.
when I went on one of the chases to
Yes.
spread my father's ashes,
Oh
and
gosh. That's
so I went
woo.
on two chases actually and spread my father's ashes.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And although I don't get to chase as much as I would like, I always recommend to people and say, all the people who are talking about wanting to get on the outdoors
Yes.
and things like that. But the experience of being, when you talk about connection,
Yes.
being with connected women, right, who are all,
Yes.
we're all like fighting through something, we're all trying to
Absolutely.
find our footing, we're all having, and the relationships
Hmm.
that are built in the
Hmm.
midst of those trees, the
Absolutely.
relationships that are built just in the midst of the nature is
Yes.
what I really love about what you've done
Yes.
with
Oh,
Ch8se and
thank you.
Waterfalls, because,
Thank
having a space where the one thing I like about it too is doesn't matter how fast you walk or how slow
you.
you walk, there's a
It
space for
doesn't.
everybody,
Yes.
and somebody's looking out. Everybody's looking
Absolutely.
out for each
Always.
other, and we don't always get that right in our regular lives.
Right.
Some of us are
Right.
just out here fighting through it on our own, but to
Right.
go, and it doesn't matter if it's your first chase or
Mhm.
your 50th chase, that, it's like, hey, get on in here. Look, what you
Yes.
need. Oh, them the wrong kind of shoes. Oh,
Right.
you don't have no snacks? I got some, but all
Yes.
that kind of thing is, I think it's long overdue for
Yes.
us as
Thank
Black
you.
women, right? And
Yes.
so that's one thing that it's unique,
Thank
and
you.
to be able to be there. And like I said, when I spread my father's ashes, amongst it, I think there were like about 40 or so on that
Yes.
chase that time.
Yes. It was quite a
And
few. It was,
to just have the support there,
yes.
I mean, I think I just was like spreading, and somebody said, well, tell us something about your dad. And,
Right.
and it just kind of, it was like, well, don't just spread them, like, let's
Right.
talk
Right.
about them,
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
it's that feeling, and that I think this is what the chase brings to women in
Yes.
our healing. And that's why it's important for us in our healing.
Absolutely. That is absolutely everything that you just said is spot on. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you. That's part of the chase embrace, right? And what you're saying is that this sisterhood is unlike others, and that
Yeah,
we do look out for each other. We take care of each other. Just as Dr. Strider says, if you're slower than someone else, don't think you're going to get left
right.
behind. There is no left behind.
Nope.
We go out together, we come back together,
Yep.
and if you need a snack or two, we got you.
Right.
And you're right. This sisterhood is special, and it's a
Yeah.
sacred, safe place. And not only did you spread your ashes, but you're one of your best friends also. I think the same day or not a different day.
A different
Spread the
time. Yep.
ashes up.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that
She
was
did. She
a
spread the ashes up right of her aunt. Hmm.
right, right.
Yep.
I remember
Hmm.
it was such a
Yep.
beautiful time,
Yeah.
and I wanted you to thank you for that. I really thank you for bringing up that memory because it was absolutely beautiful. And again, a safe space for you. First off, it was a safe space,
Yeah.
and then you felt comfortable in doing so. So that
Yeah.
to me is also a
Yeah.
testament for others to understand this sisterhood
Yeah.
and this sacred space that we
Yeah.
created within Chasing Waterfalls. So thank you very much for that. Let's speak about Ginny's Porch. Now, I know it was created in honor of your mother. What is Ginny's Porch Foundation? Excuse me. Please speak about it and tell the people what Ginny's Porch Foundation has to offer and how we could reach out to you all. And yeah, let's talk about that, and then let's talk about the
Yeah.
book.
So like I said, well, you're kind of my nonprofit, you're my nonprofit coach and helping me get all of my stuff set up and make sure I'm correct so I don't be in trouble with the government.
Right, right.
But so when I thought about doing the brunch, I had thought about it for a number of years. Like I said, my mom died in 2015. I think we did our first brunch in 2021 or 22, 21, because this will be our fourth year.
21. Yeah.
And but from the first Mother's Day after my mom passed away, and again, I consider myself to be very strong. So I was like, when Mother's Day came about, I was like, came up and, I thought I was prepared. And I thought, if I'm feeling like this,
Right.
I know there are other women, right, who,
Right.
who dread Mother's Day and, all of this kind of thing. I never really dread it because it's around my birthday time and it's always a good time to celebrate
Right,
me.
right.
But I'm just the feeling. So I had first kind of pitched this idea to my sister. I was like, we got a lot of our friends, have lost their mother. I was like, well, let's have them over. And, I was like, maybe we'll have about 10 to 15 people. And my sister was like, oh, you're not getting me to fall for that okie doke, right? Because she always says that when I say I'm going to have like 10 or 15 people over, we have like 50. So she was like, you're not getting me to fall for that okie doke. I'm not falling for that banana in the tailpipe. Or, we only going to have 10 people over. No.
She knows.
And right. So I was like, well, okay. And I kind of played around. I toyed with the idea to a few other people. And then I was like, okay, how most of us Black folks do, we do everything when we get our income tax, right?
Yes.
So when I got my income tax that particular year, I said, I'm going to take this to rent a place to have my brunch, right? And then I was like, I don't know. I had no real plan. I mean, I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I was like, if I don't take this first step, I'm gonna still every year be saying I want to do it, right?
You're right. You're right.
That's what I did, and so we came up with the Beyond the Sunshine, just when we were talking about, thinking about our mom and, the things that she liked to do. And, and one of the things that is one of our, greater fond memories is that, she liked the sun. Like my mom was a country girl, right? So she get up in the morning. And she opening the curtains and the blinds. Like, why like it's still early. Why we got all this going on? Right. Like as soon as the sun came up, she was like opening the curtains and the side. And and one of the things that I remember about the day that we buried her, the week before when she was passing, it was really cold. Like it was like an unprecedented cold. I mean, it was really cold. But the week that was her funeral, it was record warmth. Like it was
What?
so warm.
She done
And
went up there and
the
changed the
day
thermostat,
she done
honey.
changed the thermostat, right? The day that we had, so she always sat on her porch. And
I
the
love
day,
it.
the 3 or 4 days leading up to her funeral and the day of her funeral, it was like in the 70s, like 75 or 80, like it
Whoa.
was perfect porch sitting weather. So we sat on the
Whoa.
porch that whole time.
I
But
love it.
so those were the memories, right? That
I
we
love
thought
it.
about all the time. All of her friends, everybody stopped on our porch. So what we thought
Yes.
about, so the porch part in the Ginny's porch stands for a place of refuge, comfort, and hope.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
because we thought about how everybody came to her porch,
Yes.
and that was the place almost of celebration or sad, like whatever you were going through, it happened
Yeah.
on her porch, right?
Oh, I love
So,
that.
if it was a celebration, if you got a new love or if you lost a love, if you,
Uh-huh.
got a new job or you lost a job, people came and they sat on her porch. And so it
Oh,
was
I
this
love it.
coveted space, it was this space where, you had to be invited almost because you couldn't go be
Yes.
on her porch with no
Okay.
foolishness. But one of the things that my sister and I talk about often now is I think about the age that my mom was when we moved to that house, when we moved to
Mhm.
Virginia from Ohio and moved to that house with that porch, is, I was like, she was like 32 or something, right? She was young,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, so she was porch sitting for a long time. Because,
For a
that's
long
all I
time.
remember that she always, my grandmother used to come down. She didn't live far. My grandmother would come down. They'd sit on the porch and have coffee. So I was like, in her early 30s, she was, that was, one of the things. Now, she would go out and stuff. Now, don't get me
Right.
wrong. She wasn't just sitting on the porch. But that was, just thinking
That was her
that,
thing.
she was in her early 30s, right? And she was sitting
Wow.
on the porch. And
I love
but that's where people
that.
came. When
I
when
love
she passed
that.
away, people stopped by and somebody came by and I told them, I said, something was in the house. I was like, well, it's in the house, like, you know where that is. And they were like, well, actually, no, I don't. And I'm like, you don't know where? I think they wanted to go to the bathroom. I said, you know where the bathroom is? And they were like,
Uh-huh.
well, no, I'm not sure. No, I don't. And I was like, all the years you've been coming out, like, you never, she was like, well, we never go inside. We always on the So,
I love that.
as long as it wasn't frigid, like
Right.
freezing, she was
Right.
sitting on her
Was on the
porch.
porch.
She had a special porch sitting sweater. She had, so it was, if it was a little cooler, she, had wore her. So, one of the things that was the foundation that I wanted to create
Yes.
with the foundation was that feeling, right? That
Yes.
feeling of safety, that
Yes.
feeling of comfort, that feeling of, come on up and sit on the porch, friend. Let's chop it up. Let's, have a good time. And this be a safe place where women can come together and be vulnerable.
Oh, I would have loved to have
Our
met.
hardest times
Yes.
are, we can just come together and, be vulnerable. Everything happened on her porch. And, I
Everything.
think you might have heard me last year say, because she had rules to her porch.
Yes.
You couldn't comb no hair on her porch. You couldn't be out there eating a whole plate of food on her porch. You don't be pulling no inside chair out on her porch. You don't have her porch looking like it's just some old any.
Right.
She had outdoor furniture. She had plants. And,
I
it's
love
like,
it.
no, we're not doing that. Don't be sitting on her baluster. Don't sit on the step. If there's no seat for you, if there's not a seat, then you just need to keep moving because the porch is full.
No.
So,
You wasn't standing around on the porch.
No, you wasn't
Keep
doing
on
that.
moving.
You keep on moving. You come back another day when we've reached our limit for the porch. Yeah.
You have a porch capacity.
Your porch capacity. Yeah, you come back another day. You are not about to be sitting all around and have, glasses and plates and all that.
Right. No, not
You
no.
wasn't combing your hair. Go in the house and comb your hair. I don't care how hot it is in there, but you're not about to do it out here on this porch.
No. So listen, what did they refer to your mother? Was she Mrs. Ginny or?
No, she was, well, most people who knew her, her friends and all of her friends, because her name was Geneva.
Uh-huh.
So all of her friends called her either Jen or Jenny.
Okay.
And, and then like the neighbors called her, Miss G, most of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
would
trust
have
she knew
loved
all
to
of their
have sat
business
on.
because she saw it on the porch.
I would have loved to have sat on Miss G's porch.
Yes,
It sounds like, oh my gosh, she was quite a
yes.
phenomenal woman.
It
Now, do
all
you
would
have a
happen
porch?
on the porch. I do not have a porch, and that's why she did not like my house, because I did not have a porch. And low key is kind of why I don't like my house, because it does not have a porch.
Oh, really? Now, ma'am, you
Yeah.
might need to make a porch out there at some
But
point.
I had been thinking about it and trying to figure out how to get one on there. Like I have a back porch, but she would never sit on that because you can't see what people
You,
doing
you can't
when you on the back.
you can't
No,
see on the back porch.
right. You can't see
No,
nothing on
ma'am.
the back porch. Nope, she would not. I'd be like, "Well, Mama, what is there to see?" She'd be like, "Oh, who want to sit back here in the back?" I'm like,
You might miss something. You need to see who's coming and
You
going,
might you
child.
might miss and see who's coming and going. That car went down the street 5 times. I wonder what they
Exactly.
doing.
So, exactly. Somebody need to go look into that because something
Right,
ain't
look
right.
into that.
I'm
Absolutely.
with
Yep.
Miss G, honey.
Yep.
I'm with Miss G. I need to know
Well, I'm
all
telling
going
you,
on.
one time she got very sick. She was very sick in the house, and one of our neighbors called down here and said, "Your mom, something must be going on with your mom." And I said, "What makes you think that?" They said, "Because she hasn't been outside in
Oh,
2 days."
okay.
And so I was calling her, and then when I did call her, she answered, and she's like, "Well, yeah, I'm not, I'm just not feeling good." So I told him, "Go over there. She gonna come open the door." But that was the key, was the clue rather,
Yes.
was because she
Yes.
hadn't been outside on her porch. Yeah, she
Yes.
hadn't been out there, so they knew something was wrong. They were like, "Well, I went and knocked on the door, but there was no."
Mhm.
Everybody knew if you didn't see her, because they first said, "Is she down there with you?" And I was like, "No, she's at home." So they
Gotcha.
were like, "Oh, well, something's wrong. Something ain't right, because she
Something
ain't
ain't
been
right.
on the board."
Okay, Miss G ain't on the porch.
Yeah.
Stop the world and go find out
Right,
what's going on.
right. Find out what's happening. Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
love
so
it.
that was, those were our fond memories,
I
and
love
that's what we
that.
want to recreate with the foundation. And we're just kind of in our starting stages.
Yes.
This year we gave a scholarship
I saw
to a
that.
young lady. Yep, she's a
Congratulations.
freshman at Fort Valley, and she
Yes.
lost her mom. She lost
Mm.
her mom, I think, 4 years ago. Yeah,
Oh,
because she
wow.
was 14, and so she's 18 now. So
Oh,
she,
wow.
there's an organization called Students Without Mothers, and
Mm.
so
Okay.
I have been trying to partner with them to do more things for
Beautiful.
particularly young African American women who don't
Yes.
have, whose mothers have passed away.
Oh,
So we gave our first scholarship. It was $750
awesome.
to her, and
That's
God just worked
beautiful.
it out that we were able to help her, because when she wrote me a note, she said that she was, without that money, she was going to have to withdraw,
Oh,
because
wow.
she didn't have the money to pay her bill that had come, and
Oh, wow.
she had gotten a job, and she's trying to work and go to school.
Yeah. Yes. Do
I
all the
told her, I was
things.
like, "Girl, you got a bunch of jobs," because she was trying to work, and she was braiding hair, and
Oh,
she was like, "I was just trying to make up this money,"
yeah.
and so God saw fit for us to be able to bless her, to help her be able to stay in school. So I'm
That is
excited about that partnership.
outstanding. Oh, that is so outstanding. That is a beautiful blessing. Wow. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you
That's
so much.
huge.
That's one of the things that, I tell people. My mom was, she was a single mother. She had been married twice, but she had also been a teenage mother.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that, we really want to do is, we're working on our scholarship to be able to also offer a scholarship to young women who are single mothers, teenage
Yes.
mothers, or women who want to go back to school so they can, get a degree or a trade or something to be able to provide for their families.
I
She worked
absolutely
hard,
love
and
that.
so I really, would like to. That's kind of the population that we're focusing on,
Yes.
just
Yes.
to kind of make that easier for some people, because we know, and they know too. That's why they keep trying to push us to the back, because they know that
Exactly.
once we empower a woman,
Exactly.
right, she will be,
Like
that will
that.
be able to transform her life, and that for the life of her children. So that's
Absolutely.
what what we're hoping to be able to do.
Oh
Yep.
my
Yep.
gosh. That
SOS,
is
supporting
absolutely
our sisters. Yep.
that is
Yep.
absolutely beautiful. Supporting our sisters. SOS.
Yeah.
SOS.
Yeah.
Supporting our sisters. I
Yeah.
love
Because
that.
now more than ever, really, we
Yeah.
got to be here, for each other. I was just telling someone else that, in a time such as this where,
Hmm.
the Black woman in particular is being,
Yes.
degraded and being dismissed and being, we are not being looked at for our intelligence and is not being
Absolutely.
appreciated and all of that.
You're
We
right.
have to be here for each other.
Because who
We
else
have
is?
to make
Nobody else
sure who
is.
else, right? Nobody else is.
Yeah.
And
You're right.
there are, thank goodness, we do have some, we got brothers who are standing,
Hmm.
with us and beside us,
Right.
but there
Right.
are also a very lot of them who are
A
feeling the
lot of
same way
them.
as some of the other people, right? So we just got
Absolutely.
to make sure that we are here for each other to make sure that we
Absolutely.
can, just sometimes it's just get through the day,
You
you know?
you said a
Yeah,
whole mouthful there, Dr.
yeah,
Strider. We have to be here for each other because
yeah.
who else is? They're not protecting for
They're,
us.
they're
They're not
not
protecting us.
protecting us. No.
So right, if
And
we
it's
don't,
that thing that we had to have to start a whole campaign of what, protect Black women. I mean, like that
okay,
should be a given,
exactly,
right? I mean, that should be a given.
exactly. It
Who's
should be
looking
a
out for
given.
us? Yeah.
Right.
So we just got to make sure that we at least are here, for each other. And I tell
Yes.
people all the time, if you don't have, I think you call them your yayas, right? But if you don't have if you don't have a good group of
Right.
sisters, if you don't have a good group of women, Black women especially, that you can go to and just be
Yes.
vulnerable, you need to find one.
You got to find
You
one.
need
You
to
got to
find
find
your
one
group.
quick.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's so important right now.
yeah.
Like you just said, to literally to our existence, we need a support system, and
Yeah,
it needs
we
to be
need it.
a powerful sisterhood
Yeah,
where you know without a shadow of a doubt that this sister has your back,
has your
and
back.
that if nothing else, I can at least talk or have a conversation with this
Yeah.
sisterhood, right?
I
And
don't have
we
to pretend and I
exactly
don't have to pretend like I'm doing something, or
right.
I can just say, today I'm tired.
Exactly, and I ain't gotta say. And I look, I listen. I literally just did the Alabama toss, the hat toss, and was a hooty hoo. I
Right,
need help. I need backup. I'm
right,
tired.
right.
I'm not feeling my best. I literally tossed the hat in the
Exactly.
air, and when I tell you, my sisters came through for me
See?
without a shadow of a doubt. I
Yeah,
threw that hat, and they caught it and
right,
ran with it. And
right.
that's the sisterhood that we need. And it's like undeniable once you find that sisterhood. It's life changing. It's
It's life
absolutely life
changing
changing. And
to
what I
have
tell you is,
sisters that will do that. And
yes,
sometimes you don't even have to say, right? So when they can already look at you and be like, girl, you ain't all right.
girl, yes,
You know,
yes. And
that's
they'll
the
tell
thing.
you to
You're
go
not
sit your
okay.
butt down somewhere when it's
Right.
time.
Yes.
When we don't know how to sit down, those sisters that have our back will tell us to go sit down
Right. Go
somewhere.
sit down. Right.
Yep,
Yep. And
it's important.
that's what sisterhood
Absolutely.
is when you really can find that. And again, that's why, the Chasing Waterfalls and that whole group
Hmm.
is so special, because being out in the wilderness,
Yeah,
and I used to be like, child, I ain't trying to be outside because a
I
bear
know.
might be trying to get me, because they might be like, oh, she look like she thickums and she might have a lot of meat. But
You a
just
mess.
being in that environment, right, where
Yes,
you can be free. Like I'm out here in the wilderness, and if I want to just scream, I can do that.
just do that.
I
Do
can
that.
just, I can just let it out. If I just need
Right.
to sit here and I need to just sit here on this rock and
Yes.
watch, the
Yes.
waterfall, I can do
Yes.
that. And there's no explanation needed.
None. None.
It's
And you're
just,
not gonna
okay,
be
yeah,
left. And you're not gonna be bare food. And
nope,
we're not gonna judge you.
right,
And you're in a safe
right,
space where you can just do and be and
right,
begin the healing process.
yeah,
If not begin it, then continue the healing
continue, right,
process,
yeah.
right?
Meet
Because
up with
Mother
other
Nature.
people who have some of these same, hurts
Exactly.
and fears, and, just
Exactly.
trying to make it through.
Yes.
And I think that, in all different spaces,
Yes.
that this is so important. And so this outdoor space, to have that in a place where we're underrepresented, because they don't
Absolutely.
think about us being out here
Absolutely.
in in the woods, but to be out there and
Yep.
doing that, and it's really life changing
It
and
is.
transformative as you make your way from this, and then you get to that waterfall and the beauty
Yes.
of that. You
It's
know,
life
it's
changing.
transformative.
It,
Yeah,
it's so
it's transformative.
it absolutely is. It's so life changing. It's so therapeutic. It's cathartic even.
Yeah,
And I'm thankful to God for giving me this passion.
yeah,
Well, it started with the pain. Of course,
right,
everyone pretty much knows my story, but had it not been for that pain, I would have never developed this passion that it has literally entered me into my healing,
right.
um, because of my pain, right? So we
Yep,
all have our own different outlets. And I know now, like many of us do, that one size doesn't fit all. So whatever might have worked for someone else during their grief process might not have worked for me.
right.
And all the things that I tried, this chasing waterfalls, being in nature and healing and allowing Mother Nature to do what she does best is what works for me
Yeah,
and has worked for me.
right.
So, and when you're dealing with grief, with you being a certified grief coach, do you find that what I just mentioned, that one size doesn't fit for all? And what do you recommend to people
Yeah.
when they're going through the grief process?
Oh, right. It's not, one size doesn't fit all. And my grief isn't like your grief,
Right,
and your grief isn't like someone else's grief. And,
right,
every person who's lost a child doesn't grieve the same. Every person who's
right,
lost a mother, a father, a spouse, and it's all different, right? Because one thing about grief is it's relational,
right.
right? So, even two people in the same family, brothers and
Mm-hmm.
sisters don't grieve the parent the same way, right? Because
Right,
they
right.
each had a different relationship
Mm-hmm.
with
Yep.
them. And I think there's no one size fit all, but one thing that I tell everybody is that, happiness is intentional.
Oh,
So
that's good.
you have to choose to be happy.
That's good.
Happiness looks different for everybody, right? But when you are
Right.
healing and you're going through grief, you have to be intentional about
Yes.
every step. So, you got to be intentional about, what am I going to do today? Today I'm
Yes.
going to get out of the bed, right? That's intentional.
Okay.
You know, tomorrow, when tomorrow comes, I'm going to get out of the bed and I'm going to comb my hair. That's
Okay.
intentional. You
Yes.
got to be intentional,
I
because
love that.
healing doesn't just happen.
It does not. It does
Healing
not.
doesn't happen without you doing something
Right.
to get there. And so, when you started going, doing the walks and, being in the nature
Mm-hmm.
and saying, okay, I feel something a little different here. That was
Yes.
intentional. So it
It's,
was intentional to go back the next time, because, what I feel, I think I like that, right?
yes.
I felt
Yes.
lighter. I felt, I'm gonna go back again. I'm gonna
Yes.
walk a little further. So you have to be intentional,
Absolutely.
and all you have to really do is to take the one step.
The
You know,
one step. I
so
love
when
that.
you're really trying to heal, you
Mm-hmm.
just first gotta just say, I am not okay.
I'm not okay. And
I'm
it's
not.
okay
It's
not to
okay
be
to be
okay.
not okay. Yeah, it is
Mm-hmm.
okay. And when you find that thing, because
Yes.
sometimes, we, particularly in our healing and when we've lost someone we love, and, when we're going through it, sometimes people find themselves, where they're like a little bit happy, and then they're like, ooh, wait, was
Yeah.
I laughing? Oh, I can't do that.
Right. Right.
Did I just have a good time? What does that mean?
Right.
Does that mean
Right.
I'm no longer grieving? No, because you're never not grieving, right? We're always
Exactly.
grieving something.
Will you
We're
say that
always
again, please? Will
grieving.
you
We
say
are
that?
always grieving something.
Oh my
And
God.
grief is a compound emotion. So we're always grieving something. It doesn't matter
Always.
if it's tangible or intangible. I might be grieving a person. I might be
Mhm.
grieving my house, my neighborhood, my neighbor.
Right.
I might be
Right.
grieving, now I've left college and now I got to go to the real world. We're
Okay.
always grieving something.
Something.
And, but when you find that thing that allows you to have that release,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
allows you to feel, like I said, just the sun
Yes.
can peek through just a little bit, just a little bit.
Just a
It's
little bit.
okay. It's
Right.
all right. And, sometimes we're like, oh, that means I'm not, I'm not honoring them. Oh, yes, you are.
Right. Right.
You're honoring
No.
them in almost the best way, because when you say that this, although it has hurt me and it
Mm-hmm.
has, crippled me, but that's only for a moment.
Only
You
for a
know, and,
moment. Right.
and everybody doesn't find necessarily their purpose like we did out of their pain.
Right,
But your pain can still be beautiful, right? So
Yeah.
when you have, kind of like when we did the color, the color session that we did with the sand and the
Oh,
colors, and
yes.
so they
Yes.
can be separate, or you can mix them up and they be all together. It's a
Yes.
whole different picture, and it's still beautiful. It's a messy, everything
Beautiful man.
seeping through and it all running, but it's still beautiful. And I think that when we find that and realize that grief is constant, and
Yes.
that we can continue to still live. And when it gets real hard, when the grief gets like just real bad, it's okay to say, "What, I need to take a step back."
It is. Yes.
I'm going to just ride, I'm going to let this wave pass.
Right.
And then I'm going to be, then I'm going to be able to get right back in the water. I'm not going, it's over my head right now, but I'm going to step back. I'm going to do a little self-care. I'm going to go on a chase.
Yes.
I'm going to walk around the block. I'm going, but you have to work your way, but it all requires you to be intentional.
To be intentional. That's the starting point. And and am I correct in saying there's no expiration date, or there's no date
Absolutely.
that
There
says
is no
by this date you're
expiration date.
supposed to be healed?
Because it never stops. It never stops. You are never, I don't want it to stop, right? Because I don't want to not remember my parents. I don't want to not remember my aunt or my friends, or, I don't want to not remember them. So every time that I remember them, though, should not bring me to my knees.
Right.
Every time that I remember them should not make me be so sad that I can't move. So remembering them, are oftentimes that, now especially, that, I can remember, and then it's laughter. It's like, if that wasn't the craziest thing, we used to talk all the way to, the difference in when, I'd be like, why did she say that? Like, that didn't even make no sense, so, but now it's laughter, and I can, think about, and when you learn different skills, then you can think about. So, now I'm able to laugh. I'm able to remember what her life really meant, right? And I can, see her sacrifices, and I can understand, some of the things. I can understand some of the stuff she used to be saying, like, no, don't be dating him, or don't be, I'd be like, that's what she was talking about. But, it's the healing, right? So it's the healing and being able to heal and say, you know what? Yeah. I miss them. I wish I could go and sit on her porch.
Right.
But, I had all these years to do that. And so I have all these memories, of built up. So, so whenever I'm missing her real bad, I just go back to the memories.
I love that. And that's how we navigate through the healing process, right?
Yeah.
Is that part of how we navigate through it? Is the memories help us to heal, to get to the laughter, to get to the place where the memory doesn't buckle us down to our knees, right? Right,
to get to that place where the memory does not, hinder you, cripple, where it doesn't buckle you down, to be able to say, you know what, I miss them. And or I am maybe even still angry. I am still feeling like, why didn't I have the opportunity to do this, that, or the other? But
like celebrate a first birthday.
But celebrate a first birthday, celebrate a wedding, do a grandchild or whatever. But what I do have is the memory of what that made my heart feel like when I had them for however long, whether it was one day, 1 year, 5 days, 5 years, but the joy that brought me to be able to remember that. And then, because everything, you've learned something, right? So if it was nothing else, I learned how to navigate the storm.
Absolutely.
I learned how to do it. So I think that, we can always remember the little bright side, the little bright piece. One of the things that I talk about in the Beyond the Sunshine is that one thing about the sun is the sun always shines. It doesn't shine the brightest at the same. It's not always the same intensity, but it always shines. On a cloudy day, The sun still shines. It
Right.
might be covered over with some clouds, but it's still
It's
there.
shining.
You
It's
know,
still
and
there.
it shines
Yes.
the brightest after, this is something I observed, after there's the most catastrophic storm, the sun
Ooh.
shines the brightest.
Yes.
You ever notice that,
Yes.
right? After
Oh,
there's been a tornado or something and it has come through and wrecked all kinds of havoc, done all kind of damage. You know, you're looking at the news
yes.
and it's showing people's houses toppled over and it's talking about
Yes.
how many people might have even died in that storm or whatever. And you open your front door and go outside and the
The
sun is like,
sun.
you
The
know, you're like,
sun is
what?
sunning, honey. Yes.
The sun is shining, you know,
Yes.
so it's almost like, you know, it's the hope. You know,
It's
that's what I call it,
beautiful.
it's the hope.
That is
Because even though
beautiful.
all of this happened, it's still a new day,
It's
right?
still a
A
new day.
new
It's
day always comes, a new day, and
yes.
there's, so as long as there's a new day, there's always another chance. You know,
Absolutely. Oh,
so
that is
there's
so
another
beautiful.
chance to
Yes.
be happy. You know, there's another chance
Yes.
to say, you know what, I'm going to pick myself up from this. There's another chance. So the sun always shines. And I think I
Always.
use that as an analogy in that it's not always bright, but it
Right.
always shines. Even
It's
at night,
always
the
right.
sun
Oh
shines,
my
right? The
gosh.
moon. So, you
Yes.
know, it's you, if you just think about that, that no matter what I'm going through, there's always some shine in there, right?
There's
There's
always
always some
sunshine.
sunshine.
The
You know,
sun
so
is
that's,
shining.
yeah, the sun always shines.
Oh my gosh. I can hear that song in my head, the Annie song, The Sun
Yeah,
Come Out
the
Tomorrow.
sun will come out tomorrow, right? Yeah,
Yes,
bet
no
your
matter what.
bottom dollar, right? The sun's gonna come out tomorrow.
Oh
Yep,
my gosh. That
yep.
is so that's a beautiful analogy and you're absolutely right. And I hadn't thought about it, but now when after the storm, I'm gonna look for the brightness and the
I
sunshine because I know
bet you
it's
it's
coming.
gonna,
It's
right.
gonna be
It's
there.
there.
It's
Every
there.
time. I mean, I've thought about, I would look at, you know, all these different, you know, reports after these tornadoes and
Yes.
hurricanes, and they have destroyed people's stuff. Just destroy, and the sun will be shining. Even
The
when it's
sun will be
raining, right?
shining.
The sun
Oh
might,
my
it might even still be
yes.
raining, but the sun will be
Yes.
shining.
We'll be
Yeah,
going through it, getting
yeah,
in the rain, the torrential
yeah.
downpour, and the sun is
Torrential
still there.
downpour, but the sun is shining. Yep,
You are
yep.
absolutely right. And listen, for those of you who are just tuning in, I am hosting, we're having a connected conversation with the incomparable Dr. Sonya Strider. She's a certified grief coach, and she is the owner and the founder of Ginny's Porch Foundation and the Beyond the Sunshine Mother's Day Brunch. Listen, we have this connected conversation has been so good. And I don't even want to end it. However, I do want you to tell the ladies who may have, whose mother may have transitioned, whose child may also have transitioned, and one or the other, how to be a part of the beautiful Mother's Day brunch that I just spoke about and how they could reach you if in fact your services as a grief coach is something that they need in their lives right now.
Absolutely. So you can check out my website, which is PLACE, the number 4, the heart, a place for the heart.com. You can email me at the same email, a place for the heart at gmail.com. And then I can send you information, but you can also find information about the Beyond the Sunshine brunch at Beyond the Sunshine on Instagram and Facebook. So you can find the link to purchase tickets there if you like. If you want to have conversation, if you want to talk, if you find yourself needing the services of a grief coach, please reach out. And also do not let, you know, payment stop you. I do work with people, you know, we can work it out, you know, whatever, because the most important part is the healing.
The healing.
So, you know, we can work through most everything else, you know. So I do offer, you know, scholarships and, I'm a probably about be trading y'all some eggs soon. You know, you bring me some eggs,
Okay, that part.
we can probably be able to
Girl,
do something. But
we got to raise some chickens or something,
right,
because my
right,
goodness.
we need to do something, right? But but I say that because oftentimes people will contact me and then they'll say, well, what do you charge?
Right, right,
Well, let me find out what you need first, right?
right,
Because
right.
again, I don't want what I charge to be a reason that you don't get the help you need.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
so, and grief coaching can look different.
Hmm.
It can look different with everybody.
Absolutely.
I do have a program that I do that's it's an 8 week, 7 or 8 week program, just
Okay,
depending on what you need. But so that's that's how it works.
beautiful.
However, I do, me, I just do my own thing. So
I
I
know
do,
you do.
I, I
You do
do
what you
different
do.
things. I do what I do. So I do different things based on, kind of
Yes,
what people need,
yes,
because everybody doesn't really need the same thing.
absolutely.
I'm going to be honest and true. You're going to get my authentic self every single time.
That's all we need,
So,
and that's what they want.
you
That's
know
what
what
they
I'm
need.
saying? So if it's like, girl, look, you need to get a grip, I'm going to probably tell you that.
Okay,
Now, if you need me to help
exactly.
you figure out how to get a grip, I can do that too. But
Absolutely.
I think that I really like to just have I like to have the real conversations with people
Yes, yes.
when we're working through your grief, because you gotta promise yourself when you're trying to work on your grief and or anything that you're gonna be honest with yourself. you know
Okay,
so you can't come and then you can't be guarded like, well, I'm only going to say a little bit because you only going to get a little bit of healing. I mean,
exactly.
you know
Right. You get what
it's,
you give, right?
right, you're right, what you trying to do, if you're just trying to get through the week, no judgment. You know what they say, we
Right.
listen but we don't judge, so
We
whatever
don't
you want,
judge.
whatever
So
you
wherever
want to
you
do.
are,
But yeah,
you
but
better be
you got to be honest with yourself, though, you really do.
right. Right, right. Now, I'm still waiting for my opportunity, Dr. Strider, to be on your show. I mean, the Portia show.
I thought we need to talk
Because
about that. We need to see, we
I
need
know
to
that's your
get you,
girl.
yeah, we need to get you connected. Yeah, we need to get you connected
But
to
did you
her.
hear me say your show?
Well, look, right. I keep telling them I keep telling them, y'all need to let me co-host. I
Oh,
don't know how these other folks got shows
yeah.
and I don't have no show. I mean, I don't understand.
I don't
I'm gonna
understand
just
either.
start. Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get up here, I guess, and be foolish enough that I'm gonna have to.
No,
I need to go viral. That's what
no,
it is. I
no,
need to go viral. I don't know how to go viral. I'm gonna have to
no. I
be
don't
able
either,
to go
but
viral so I can get my own show.
I don't either, but
But
Dr. Strider,
I
you
need to
need
come
your
up here
own
with a
show.
20-part. I need a 20-part series
Okay?
about,
Yes.
all the foolishness or whatever that's been
Yes.
happening, and then I'll get a trip to Disneyland or something.
Maybe. I don't know, but you definitely deserve your own show. Portia. Now I hope you're listening.
Right. I'm trying to tell them. I'll be
Fox
sending them. I'm
5,
telling them.
Dr. Strider
Call me.
needs her own show.
Keep calling me.
Okay?
I told him, you can give me a spot, right? I keep telling them I can have a
Right.
little spot,
A
a
spot.
little brief spot. Yeah, just get,
Yes. That's a
I'm
good
working
start.
on it.
We can
I'm
start
right.
there. Yeah. I
Let
love
me be
that.
a regular. I'm working on it. I
I know
am.
you are. I know you are, and I know it's coming. Listen, to give us the date of the Beyond the Sunshine, because that would be
Yes.
for
So
me
the Mother's
to
Day
be a
brunch,
part
the
of
Beyond the Sunshine Mother's Day brunch is April 26th. It's the fourth Saturday in April, two weekends before Mother's Day. So what we like to do, I said, come together. We like to have a good time. We cry together. We do all of that. But we also, we kind of get you ready for Mother's Day. It's
that.
nothing like being in a room full of sisters,
Yeah.
and particularly a room full of sisters who you have a shared experience with.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so to be able to share that experience, I had a lady last year who told me she wasn't sure she was going to come because she just wasn't sure that she wouldn't, break out crying. I was
Right.
like, well, child, if you break out crying, honey, it's
It's, o-
okay.
it's okay.
I said, and somebody, she's like, because I'll probably be in the corner somewhere just crying. I said, well, somebody will come to the corner with you. It's okay. It's okay. And
It's
so
okay.
you don't have to feel sorry for or bad
Right.
about. Whatever your emotions are, they are. And, you know, that's the beautiful thing about the brunch,
Yes.
because number one, you know, most everybody, there are some women who come, who now just come because they want to know what we doing. I mean, and they,
Right.
you know, they still have their mothers, or they haven't had, you know, but
Right.
there are some people who have come who have had different losses, right? Like I say,
Yes.
it's for women who've lost their mothers or who've lost children, but
Mhm.
there are some women who come who've lost a spouse, or they've,
Yes.
you know, just
Yes.
have experienced grief in other ways.
Exactly.
They still come and find comfort, because the
Right.
thing is that to be in a room where there are so many women. We started the first year that I was, you know, trying to have it at my house, when I told my sister there's going to be 10 people.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
We had about 80 people the first year,
That's right.
right? No. I
Oh,
rented the place, remember? So yeah, we
oh,
had it
right,
at the
right, right,
Clarkston
right.
Community Center,
Right,
yeah.
right.
But it was only supposed to hold 75, and I think I probably sold 100 tickets. But anyway,
Uh-huh. Oh,
80
yes, you
people
did.
came, right? Because, you know, I'd just be like, well, come on. People were like, I was like, oh, girl, come on, we'll work it out.
You're like, what?
But,
How cold? It don't matter. How cold don't
right, you know, I mean, we could get real close and, you know, whatever. But so there were about 80 women there. I really had no, you know, no real idea. Like, I put a program, you know, I didn't really know what it was, what I
matter. Right.
wanted to do.
Right.
But the next year, you know, people filled out their survey, and they were like, well, for one thing, number one, you need more space.
Okay.
Um, so as my
We're
little
going
nephew
there.
said, right, the number 8 thing is you need more space. So I said, okay,
Right.
cool. So then I moved to the next room. We had about 250 women. No, we had about 200 women the next time. Maybe 175 to 200 the second year.
Uh-huh.
The third year, which was last year, we had 250 women.
Wow.
Um, and I'm
Beautiful.
preparing for 250 women this year.
Go on, bump it up
So
to 300, ma'am.
yeah.
Go
Well,
on,
you know,
bump it up.
so that's what I'm preparing for. You know, we start working on, so it's really me and my sister, my niece, my daughter, and then a few of my good girlfriends who all, you
Yes.
know, say, well, you know, give me something to do and I can do that. And
Exactly.
so, you know, I'm gonna try to get professional like you and have a real team. But now I just be texting people and say, hey, can you do this? And
That's
they'll
it.
be like, yes. And so I'm like, cool. They'll
Well,
be like, well, we gonna have a
we the
meeting?
same
No.
boat. We the same boat. I be texting folks the same, honey. My team is just as professional as I am. I'm gonna leave it at that. We
But
can
you
get it
know, so we
done.
just, you know, and I think it's all of our, you know, each year we try to bring something a little different.
Yes, and you
The first
do.
year, yeah, the first year we had, as a surprise, because I actually didn't even know he was coming, but as a surprise, the first year, Hank Stewart came through and blessed us with some poetry.
Wow.
The second year, I had the DJ, and he,
Yes.
you know, was a DJ, and he sang and
Same.
serenaded the
Yes.
ladies. And, you know, last year he
Yes.
wasn't able to come, and people were upset because they were like, "Where is he?" So he will be back this year. He has
Oh,
promised me
goodness.
already.
We're gonna
So he
hide the
will be
light.
back.
Listen, we gotta hide
Yes,
the light from the
we'll
veil.
have us our good time, right? Our good time, and
Love it.
you know, so it's just to you know, again, where we can let our hair down, and our
Yes.
culminating activity is that we, at the end of the brunch, we do a butterfly release. So we release
Beautiful.
live butterflies.
Yes.
Everybody gets one, and we do a butterfly release, and that's really symbolic of the butterfly. You know, a couple things. You know, the metamorphosis of the butterfly.
Yes.
So kind of coming through and coming out of your grief. That's one.
Yes. I
The
love it.
other is that, you know, the butterfly symbolically, we asked, you know, the women and our participants to, you know, say whatever your wish
Yeah.
is, or whatever you want to
Yes.
send to your loved one, whatever you want to say to them. And so the butterfly, you know, symbolically carries that message
Yes.
for you. And
Yes. I
so,
love
you
that.
know, everybody releases their butterflies, and that's our culminating event. The women
So
have, you
beautiful.
know, really enjoyed it, and you know, so
Yes, we
we've
have.
been doing that, you know, every year. So, you know, we just try to bring a little different flavor. Try to, you know, do something different because, you know, I have a fantastic caterer
Yes.
who, he brings the fire every time. So,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
that's where the relationships are. And I'm not going to be belabor this point, but that's where the relationships are, right? So he was
Yes.
with me when
Yes.
when I was trying to do the money and I had none. And, he was like, well, look, I'm going to do this for you because I believe in this.
I
And,
love that.
and so every time that I am looking for a caterer or I know people who are looking for caterers,
Right.
I always, give them his name. Like, this
Yes.
is my number one on my list. Now, I got
Absolutely.
some others, but this is my number one, right?
And what's the
Because
caterer's name? Y'all don't give a plug. Well,
AJ,
yeah.
that's right, AJ's Catering, Anthony James
There you
Catering,
go.
and if you need his number, holler at me because I will absolutely give it to you because he is fire. He is
Yes.
wonderful. He does the decorating and all, so he don't just set up food.
Yes. A
He
beautiful
decorates his
display.
table. Yeah,
Yes.
he is a beautiful display. But the passion that goes into what he does for
Oh
the
yeah, you can
brunch,
tell.
specifically, he has been since we started. He had lost his mother not long before I
Oh
had reached
wow.
out to him about the brunch. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll do it. When I was just kind
Oh
of telling him my
wow.
concept. And like I said, I had like this much money. Like he
Oh,
truly turned water, he truly
uh-huh.
turned water into wine with that. He fed the fishes and the
There
loaves
you
because I
go.
had this much money. I want y'all to mention I had this much money, this much, and he made that happen. But so a lot of
I
people
love it.
have sold into this so
Love
that it
it.
can be special, for all the participants. So, if this is your story, or other women who are going through this, be
Yes.
sure to reach out, grab your ticket again, send me a message,
Absolutely.
we can work on some things, but, I'd love to see you. I
Yes,
love to see you.
it's a beautiful time, and I think this will definitely be my third year.
Yep,
So I missed the first year, but this will
yep,
be my third year, and every year I am blessed beyond measure. Every year is better and better
yep.
and
We've
better,
been
and
trying.
it has been a beautiful experience that I absolutely look forward to. Preceding Mother's Day, my mother's still with me, but my daughter, one of my daughters,
Right.
isn't. So I go in honor of her and celebrate her life. And it's just a beautiful time, as Dr.
Yeah.
Strider mentioned, to be surrounded with women who are also going through something similar or going through the same grief that we're
Yeah.
going through. So it's absolutely it's
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's not all sad and it's
No.
not all depressing.
No.
It's light and
Mm-mm.
uplifting and
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's a free space and a safe space actually
Yep.
to feel your feels,
Yep.
right? And to
Feel them
grieve how
all.
you grieve
Yep.
in a safe space. And if your mother is no longer here, if your child is no longer here, and you're looking for a space
Yep.
to grieve or to celebrate, then
Yeah.
Beyond the Sunshine with Dr.
Yeah.
Strider and
Absolutely. Come
Ginny
see us.
Porch
Yeah.
Foundation is the place to
Yeah.
be. It absolutely is. You'll
Definitely.
continue to see me posting and resharing because if you know me, you know I'm going to share your shine until I can't share your shine anymore. So it will be posted on here. You'll see
I
this
appreciate
recording will be
you.
posted.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I think,
always, always.
again, just if that's you, just what you said, if that's you or someone,
Yes,
who has experienced it or who has just experienced it. And, and
yes,
another layer that someone was talking to me about, and I told her, come on and come. She has her mother is really ill.
oh,
And is critically ill,
yes,
and I said, well, come on, right? Because there's
yeah,
grief in that too, right? So
yes,
there's grief in the
yes,
waiting. There's grief
yes,
in the waiting, and so she knows that that's coming. And I said, well,
yes,
just come on, hang out with us. Be around people, be with
yes,
women. And so it's the change and the difference, right?
right,
So I've had a few people who reached out to me. Mothers may have like
yes.
Alzheimer's and things like
I was
that.
just gonna say
It's
that.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they're not the same, right? So
right,
you're mourning. So it's about mourning
right,
whatever you're mourning. And
right.
again, no judgment. We don't judge you on whatever it is you're
Don't
mourning
judge
or how you're
at
mourning.
all.
And you just come with us and, have be in a safe space and allow us to
Yes,
nurture your heart. We
yes,
really we really take that seriously, that we are nurturing people's hearts. So,
Absolutely.
come on, join us.
Absolutely. I love that. I appreciate you, Dr. Strider, for creating this space for us to mourn,
Thank you.
to grieve, to
Yeah,
celebrate. It's just beautiful. So thank
yeah,
you for creating this space. And I do also want to say, not only does the brunch give you all that she just mentioned, Dr. Strider will belt out a song or two every now and then. And I don't know if you know, but she's a songbird. She can sing. I ain't say sing, she can sing. And every now and then she'll share a little
every now
something
and
with us when
again,
she's
every
out there
now and
on the.
again, I'll drop a little note.
And she does, and she does. And I remember last year, and I think each year that I've gone, when we're doing the butterfly release, she sings this song that just melts my heart away, and just this literally is the piece de resistance to the
Yeah,
culmination of the event.
yeah.
Now, I'm gonna just tell y'all gonna have to come for yourself and get it, because yeah, you're gonna have to come for yourself and get it. How about that?
Come and see
So
us. Just come hang
come and
out with us,
see.
and spend
Yes,
the afternoon. It's from 10 to 1 on
yes.
April 26th. This year we're going to be at Green Forest Christian Church, Baptist Church on Rainbow Drive and in Decatur. And just come and hang out with us. Like I said, it's 10 to 1. Just let us nurture your heart.
Absolutely. And you will not be disappointed at all. And
Yeah.
you definitely tap into Dr. Strider, my
Yeah.
friend, and certified grief coach.
Yep.
Listen,
Yep.
reach out to
So,
Dr.
reach
Strider or
out to
reach
me.
out to
Yeah, reach out. If you are
Absolutely.
having, whatever it is that's going on, reach out, because there's no way that we could or should go through this alone.
Oh
So,
wow, that's so good.
just,
Yes.
just reach out and allow someone to help you to move through it,
Yes.
you know? Yeah.
Yep. You heard it here. You heard it here. So, Dr. Strider, thank you for this beautiful, connected conversation. Thank you for all that you're doing in our community to help us heal, to help us mourn, and to help us through. What did you say? To get through
Yeah,
to
to
the other
get to
side?
the other side of
Yes.
through. Yep, the
Yes, the
other
other side of
side of
through.
through. Yep.
Thank you for
Yep,
that. I appreciate
absolutely.
you, friend. I love
Thank you
you,
for
and I will
having
see
me.
you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you. Yes. See you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye,
Yeah, see you soon.
everybody.
Bye, everybody. That's it for now. We will see you all for another episode of Chase Chats and Choppa. Stay tuned for that drop and stay tuned to see who that's going to be. Until then,
Ooh.
have a good night, everybody.